The lesson this week is all about redefining love. It's what my texts are about, and it's what I'm teaching in the lab this week. So before we talk about redefining love, I want to first apologize if you hear parrots in the background. If this episode sounds like I'm doing it from a pet store, I apologize. The thing about where I live today is there are parrots everywhere, and the rumor is in the 60s, a pet store caught on fire and they released all the birds, and the birds, a lot of parrots, and the parrots procreated, and now there's hundreds of them here in Altadena. And so in the morning, it's like Jurassic Park at my house. Anyway, I think they're gone. So let's talk about redefining love. Before we get into how, let's talk about why. So with any definition, there is shoulds behind our definitions, right? So it doesn't matter if we're talking about love or we're talking about our definition of what, it looks like to be productive, or to, our definitions on our relationship with our body, our definitions on what a friendship looks like. Behind every definition, because it is a blueprint, there's going to be a lot of shoulds, right? And shoulds can be unhealthy and bad, but they can also be good, because shoulds create the framework, right? Shoulds get us to color inside the lines, or to have standards and non-negotiables. So the thing with love is, because of society, commercials, because of romantic comedies, and the way that love has been packaged, there is a giant should, right? And if we don't redefine it, then it's easy to get sucked into those shoulds that are created by society in movies and books and all that. And what happens is we don't create new love experiences. And so with every new definition, we're creating a formula, an outline, a game plan for a new experience. And this is, I think, what's important. Most of us, because we don't actively create new definitions of love, we default to old patterns, And so when we're young, we usually just fall into relationships because we feel passion, or we feel chemistry, and we start to lose ourselves, right? And so if we don't create new definitions, then what happens is it's easy for us to fall into those patterns again. And when you fall into those patterns, you're going to create you're going to create old experiences, right? You're going to trace old experiences that cement old beliefs about yourself and about love and about all of that. And so you are now living in the past, right? And this is why I say that we have to love without our past, because usually our past, young love, is filled with a lot of dysfunction, is filled with distortion, And so, they're not all bad, I mean, I think we're supposed to have those experiences so we can learn from them. We're not going to know what healthy feels like unless we've had unhealthy, right? So I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think it's just part of life. But if you never redefine, then there is no room for evolution. There's no room for growth or for new experiences. And I think giving yourself a new love experience, I think that's what's rare, We're very good at giving ourselves new experiences when it comes to fitness, when it comes to adventure, when it comes to building our empires, or whatever. But when it comes to love, we don't think about redefining it, We don't think about, okay, what's the experience that I want? We usually think about the person. We usually think about, how can I get this person? Or what I want to feel is it's the dopamine from loving someone. And then by going based on that, it's easy to slip into old patterns, right? So that's the why. The why is we have to redefine love so we don't repeat old patterns that may have been unhealthy. Now, how? How do you redefine love? Where do you even start? So I think with every new definition, you have to start with your truth, you know? And so it's not about comparing, other people's definitions of love. It's not about just reading self-help books. It's about checking in with yourself and asking yourself, what kind of love experience do you want, right? What is your new definition of love based on your history, based on your past, based on things that didn't work, right? And so starting from there, ask yourself, what is your new definition of love? For me, in my early days, love was all about the lightning in the bottle. You know, love was about the sticky, I call it the sticky, the collision, the chemistry, you know, the amount of dopamine I could get from the intimacy, the sex, the codependency. Losing yourself in someone else feels so good, right? And so in my 20s, that's how I defined love. That was the measure of love. And if it wasn't sticky, if there wasn't dysfunction, I was less attracted, right? And then I learned through most of my 30s that love can be different, and love doesn't have to be it doesn't have to feel like cocaine, you know, and it shouldn't. And so I talk about swimming past the breakers a lot. When you swim past the honeymoon stage, the dopamine, and you start to peel layers and you see the 360, right? You get to take in not just a cardboard cutout of a person, but who the person is, what they stand for, the spirit of someone, right? Then you can now build something that is on soil, not on sand. Does that make sense? So what I mean by soil is now you are investing in a relationship that's going to be sustainable, that's going to bear fruit, that isn't just about feeling good, right? And also, if you are in a relationship where it just feels good, chances are that relationship container is stunting both of you guys, because feeling good a lot of times leads to stunted growth. It's in the contrast that I've learned. It's in the differences and what you do with those differences and how you're able to look inward and grow through those differences. Not if the differences are so wide where you just can't even relate to the person, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about once you choose to love someone, the differences and then the stuff that comes up. What you do with that is what's gonna create your evolution, create your growth, you know? And also, and more importantly, well, I shouldn't say more importantly, but this, I say more importantly because I think people don't realize this part. It also creates, I use more importantly as a punctuation or like a to underline a word. It's a trick. It produces glue. The contrast, the stuff that is stirring inside you, if you respond to it instead of react to it, if you investigate and explore, it produces relationship glue, right? It produces trust. Now we have two people evolving and growing and giving themselves a new love experience. If you do nothing with what's coming up, if you run away from the discomfort or the contrast, then the only thing that's going to change is faces, you know? Then there's a chance that you don't swim past the breakers, you don't give yourself a new experience, you don't learn much, and you just kind of go from one lily pad to another lily pad, you know? And so this is why it's important. This is why it's important to redefine love and what love looks like for you. So going back to the how, check in with yourself. Look back, what didn't work, what worked, instead of just going by how you feel and wanting to be with someone because he or she makes you feel a certain way. Instead, ask yourself, what kind of love experience do you want, you know? What can you build that's sustainable, that's going to bear fruit instead of just feel good? Me having addiction in my blood, being impulsive, I'm all about just feeling good. This is why I inhale donuts. This is why I don't have a lot of discipline. I'm a bit of, and listen, I'm not like I used to be. So that's something I'm aware of. And so I believe everything ripples. And so for me, I didn't pay attention to how I'm impulsive with love, right? In a way, by being impulsive with love, I'm abusing love. And so recently, checking in with myself and asking myself what it looks like to not be impulsive, what it looks like to respect the love, what it looks like to build, to hold with two hands and to water love, to feed love instead of grab love, right? The difference is holding love instead of grabbing love. And I think that's where healthy lives. I think that's where new experiences live. But also it's difficult to do, anything that is new, anything that requires you to change in thought behavior is extremely difficult. And this is the work. And when you have two people doing it, then you have a chance at both giving yourselves a brand new experience. When you give yourself a new experience, then what happens is eventually your love buds change. And when your love buds change, you now have new standards. You now have a new definition, and it's easier to not go back into the old, but now build on the new. Thank you for listening. If you want to get my text, just go to my Instagram at theangrytherapist. Theangrytherapist.com is my website. You could go there too. And then if you want to hang out with me live and check out some of my Zoom classes, you could just find that also on my Instagram at theangrytherapist. Thank you for listening. Be well.